Do you feel like you're alive, but no longer living? You wake up. The light is there, the room is still. The world hasn't changed, but something inside you has. It's not sadness, not depression, just a kind of numbness, as if the soul is floating slightly outside the skin. You do things. You go on. But nothing really touches you. It's like you're watching life behind a fogged-up window, quietly asking, when did I stop belonging to my own story? You're not broken. You're not dramatic. What you're feeling has a name: silent loneliness. It doesn't scream like grief or panic. It hums, low, constant. And the older you get, the easier it is for that silence to become the loudest voice in the room. There's a kind of loneliness that isn't just about being alone. It's about feeling unseen even in the presence of others. It's what starts to grow when your calls become rare. Your name is no longer spoken with urgency, and your stories start to gather dust. In this video, we'll explore 4 signs that your soul may be drifting, not because you chose it, but because no one noticed you were fading. Let's begin. Because sometimes, naming the silence is the first act of healing. Sign 1. Time feels like a loop, not a journey. You no longer know what day it is, not because of memory loss, but because it doesn't really matter. Monday, Thursday, Sunday, they blur. Each morning feels like a copy of the last, like a scene you've lived before but can't quite change. Routines become rituals of survival, not celebration. Meals are eaten, not enjoyed. The hours pass, but they don't carry you anywhere. This is one of the earliest signs that your soul is slowing down, not in age, but in meaning. The clock still ticks, but your sense of direction is gone. You are awake but drifting, alive but unanchored. And this is dangerous, because when the future stops calling you forward, the past begins to pull you back. Loneliness thrives in repetition. It hides behind habits and cloaks itself in normalcy. You might say, I'm fine, I have my rhythm. But if that rhythm no longer holds any music, what you really have is a silent routine disguising quiet despair. No one teaches us that time can become a prison, not because we're aging, but because we stopped expecting something from it. That's the difference between enduring life and being alive. When your soul starts to forget why it's here, time stops serving you and starts swallowing you. If your days feel like loops, not ladders, like you're walking but going nowhere, this may be the first whisper that your soul is asking for more. Sign 2. You no longer speak your deepest truths. There was a time when your voice carried fire, not loud, not aggressive, but alive. You spoke about what mattered. You shared your thoughts even if they shook. You questioned. You confessed. But now, silence has settled into your daily vocabulary. Not the sacred kind, but the tired, avoidant kind. You stop telling people how you really feel. You nod when you disagree. You smile when you're aching. You say it's nothing when it's everything. Your truth begins to shrink, not because it's unimportant, but because you've convinced yourself no one would listen. Or worse, no one would understand. This kind of silence isn't peace. It's erosion. It's the slow disappearance of the self. A soul that no longer speaks starts to forget what it believes. And when you no longer feel heard, even by yourself, you begin to vanish in your own presence. Loneliness isn't always about being alone. Sometimes it's about being surrounded and still invisible. It's about being in a room full of people, and yet feeling like your voice would fall flat if it tried to rise. So it doesn't. This is the second sign. When you no longer speak with soul, when your words become shallow or silent, and your inner world becomes a locked room, the key isn't lost, but you've stopped reaching for it. Sign 3. The days start to blur together. You wake up, but you don't really awaken. You go through motions, but nothing truly moves inside. The coffee has no taste. The news has no weight. The days stretch like empty hallways, each one looking like the last. Monday could be Thursday, and you wouldn't notice or care. Time, once full of meaning, starts to feel like repetition. You've stopped anticipating. You don't look forward, only forward into more of the same. There's no event that excites you, No small moment that invites you back to wonder. The seasons change, but nothing shifts inside. That's when you know something deeper is dimming. This is how the soul slips into sleep. It doesn't collapse all at once, it dims, slowly, gently, through apathy, through the erosion of awe. You no longer laugh with surprise. You no longer pause to feel the sun on your face. Everything that once fed you now feels neutral, gray. And here lies the third sign. When every day feels like a copy, you've stopped dancing to life's rhythm, and instead you march in quiet resignation. Not because you want to, but because the spark that once lit your way is flickering, and you don't know how to reignite it. But the truth is, your soul hasn't left. It's still watching, waiting, listening for one moment, just one, where you'll choose meaning again, even in a small breath. Sign 4, you no longer see yourself in the mirror. There comes a moment, often quiet, often ignored, when you catch your reflection and feel like a stranger. Not because of wrinkles or age spots, but because the person staring back no longer feels like you. The eyes are familiar, but the spark is gone. The posture holds, but the presence is faint. It's not aging that startles you. It's the sense of absence. You've become the caretaker of routines, the keeper of memories, the one who holds space for others, but forgot to hold space for yourself. You exist, but you're no longer expressed. You speak, but you rarely say what you truly feel. You move, but the movement feels rehearsed, safe, silent. This is the most invisible sign of all. When you no longer recognize your own essence. You stopped dressing for joy. You stopped exploring new thoughts. You abandoned the curiosity that once made you feel alive. You've slowly become a background character in your own life. Polite, functional, but faded. And yet behind that quiet surrender, your soul still remembers. It remembers what you dreamed of becoming. It remembers the way your heart raced when something mattered. It remembers the parts of you locked away for the sake of being practical, mature, or realistic. But what if realism is killing the last pieces of your wonder? You don't need to change everything. Just begin to reclaim one thing that reflects you back to yourself. A small act, a forgotten hobby, a truth spoken, a question asked again. Who am I when I'm not disappearing to please the world? Loneliness doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers through routine. Sometimes it hides in silence you've grown used to. But if you've made it here, to this part of the video, to these words, then some part of you is still awake, still listening, still capable of reclaiming what time has not yet taken. You are not too far gone, not too late, not too broken. Your soul is still here, beneath the silence, the habits, the masks. It never left. It just got tired of being ignored, of being numbed, of watching you survive instead of live. There is still time to shift, to pause the spiral, to rebuild rituals that bring warmth instead of numbness, to let go of what's dulling your days, to seek new meaning, not in grand reinventions, but in small moments that matter. A letter written, a conversation started, a walk taken without a destination, the first breath that feels real again. This is your invitation, not to run from your loneliness, but to meet it, to ask it why it's there, to see what it's been trying to tell you all along, because behind every ache is an unmet need, and behind every fading light, a hand that can still reach for the switch. If this touched you, write in the comments, I still feel time. Share this with someone who's been moving through days like a shadow of themselves. And if you want to keep breaking the silence together, subscribe now. You are not the echo of what's been lost. You are the breath of what still longs to live.